tell me about this movie?
Well, what would you like to know?
I don't know, just the basics? Running time, stars, is it worth watching?
Well, it's more complicated than that. This is probably the best movie I've seen on gay male sex work ever. The film is called Sebastian, and it's about a young, aspiring writer from London who, in doing research for his debut novel, starts to go method with it. Like, he actually starts to do this type of work himself. It's quite amazing how this movie takes a cliche archetype and completely dissects it deeply. Now, just know that this movie does not hold back in its depictions of the sex work. So watch this in an appropriate setting. Now, when I first saw the trailer for this, I wasn't really that interested because I've seen movies that deal with this type of character before, films like My Own Private Idaho or even Beach Rats. And those movies are great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those movies, but I feel like those movies are almost observational. We're just scratching at the surface. We don't really know the complexities of what's going on. And this movie takes you there. This movie does not play out the way that you think it's going to play out. Originally, I thought it was going to be a film about obsession, something like a Black Swan, and how your work can really suffocate you and not actually be able to experience your life. And no, it's not. I mean, it does deal with those topics, but then it just completely starts to bloom into something else. It actually invites and opens up way more complexities and questions, and it doesn't necessarily answer those questions, but it does leave you pondering after the film. I liked also the fact that this movie acknowledges that the sex worker is a archetype, and I think the character says something like that this is a stock character. Like, there's probably a self-awareness that the director had in making a story like this and making sure that he actually told something that was new and interesting. And I know I sound like a broken record if you watch my videos, but that Kubrick quote just keeps ringing in my head all the time, that if you're going to do something that has been done, hundreds of times, try to do it a little bit better. Try to introduce things that have not been done before. There's so much sometimes on a topic that we think we know everything about that we really don't know anything about. And sex work, I feel like, is really an interesting place to start because there is so much emotional and psychological complexities and why someone would want to do that. There's sometimes a growing movement that you read online about how people are against having sex scenes in movies and they're kind of useless. And I don't really subscribe to that at all because I feel like even on a surface level, if you're not gaining any plot device in the sex scene, you're learning about the characters, you're learning about how they interact with each other. Obviously, you could point to some gratuitous examples of meaningless sex scenes, but I think most of the time filmmakers don't use that just for the sake of it. And here, the sex scenes are very much an important part in telling this specific story. Recently, Best Picture Anora does the same thing. You can't take those scenes out because they're very much a part of the character's development and learning. There's a lot of great, interesting things about how much you put of yourself into your work and how sometimes that's even unavoidable. And the idea between art and commerce and those battles this film just deals with so many things. It throws out so much stuff. I almost imagine like the filmmaker just dipped his hands in paint and just threw it across the screen. And there's so many things you can just go, oh, that's interesting and that's interesting. There's a lot going on. Now, this is a little spoiler if that bothers, if you don't know really that much about what happens. But there is kind of a Harold and Maude situation that develops in this film. Now, this is a type of relationship that could come off easily as very creepy. But I think the director does such a delicate job introducing this relationship and making it not this weird thing, and it actually is kind of a sweet thing and almost an educational thing for the main character too. I also love the way that the movie ends. Like, I'm talking about the very last shot, throwback to old movies, and I really loved that. I also want to say the performances across the board are just really something of note because it never feels like they're acting. It really feels genuine and honest. But I have to say, props to the main actor in this because I don't want to mispronounce the main actor's name, but this actor is somebody to watch because he does such a powerful job holding this film together. This role requires a lot of vulnerability, and he just bears it all, literally and psychologically, and you feel a lot from his performance. And this is an actor that you should put on your radar because a truly great performance here. When you see a movie this good, it just feels so special, and you just want to just smile. When you see something that you thought was no longer worth exploring, and then this movie's like, no, wait, there's a little bit more here.